And just make sure that you turn your worksheets in to me or Bill. Thank you for being quiet. So we're going to talk about these discussion questions and then look at the steps that organizations take in the innovation decision process, and then we're going to talk about innovation champions. So the first one was, why does Max Weber call bureaucratic organizations iron cages?
It's because there's so much control.
Hey, I'm sorry, just who wrote Purple? No name.
Can you say that a little louder, please?
There's no, the organization controls everything. There's no freedom for other people to do things.
Yeah. So they're kind of repressive, maybe is a good word.
Sure.
What type of organizations do y'all think could be considered an iron cage? Like, what are some examples? What'd you say?
What did you talk about armed forces? Anything like that?
Our way or the highway, kind of?
Yeah.
Do y'all think a university is an iron cage?
Yes, trapped.
Why, Cole?
I didn't know you were going to ask me to elaborate on that. But
I'll tell you about the public school system. I FaceTimed with my sister last night, and her son's 10, and she said he used to love to read. And she said, I think the school has beat out any joy of reading that he has, because this is what you have to read, this is what you have to report back. And she said all they're getting is him regurgitating stuff back to people, and he doesn't really enjoy reading anymore. So that's certainly an example. He's not very creative anymore. They just, again, beat all that out of him. So do you think as college students we beat out any creativity that you have?
yep.
He's really poor.
Hey, I ain't got nobody around me either.
Better go sell some friends.
Back in my seat.
So the next one is about the downside of virtual organizations, but you can also we're going to talk about the upside to them as well. But what were some of the downsides that the chapter talked about, or that y'all think are? What?
There's high turnover rate.
Yeah.
Like working with time zones as well. Was it the virtual?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can't always be on the same schedule, so your schedule's long.
They struggle with face-to-face communication like their employees do, because they don't have to.
And sometimes it said they had lower satisfaction, like overall in the job.
Yeah.
Easier misunderstandings. Trying to say something out loud being different than how it's interpreted.
More disconnect than you would have.
Wouldn't you say that sometimes communication is less inhibited when you're using email or text, or you're more willing to say whatever from behind your phone or from behind your computer than you would face to face? And that would result in conflict, yeah. So what are some plus sides of a virtual organization?
I mean, you can work a wide scale. So yeah, you're behind the screen texting or emailing, but you can still work far apart.
So you don't have to all be in the same office building, which
You can work anywhere.
reduces.
You can work
Commute
24 hours.
commute time.
Yeah. You're not having to pay for an office building or parking or something like that. What else?
For the company, they can work 24 hours all around by having two different groups of people with two different times.
Longer workday in a sense. So why are big or bigger companies more innovative than
Could we
small?
just before we talk about, before we leave that, is education have virtual organizations? What does it look like? Okay. Any downsides to online education?
The internet's not working.
All dependent on the technology, all right.
There's no face-to-face interaction with your professor or anything like that.
Well, there can be, but you certainly don't have much face-to-face with each other. You can, but it's difficult, and a lot of times you don't.
Is it judgmental of me to say you can tell when someone's been homeschooled and when they haven't?
Is it judgmental to say what?
It's when you can like really tell a difference that someone's been homeschooled and they've been in online classes versus someone that's been in public school.
There's a great comic which the child goes into the admissions office, and the guy said, "How did it feel to be voted most likely to succeed in class valedictorian? Was homeschooling good for you?" Anyways, maybe some of those students are ahead academically because they didn't have to wait around for the other people to finish their worksheet. What about at the university level, if you got a degree that was online versus you came here to school? What would that student have missed out on that you have gotten?
Networking.
Okay, with each other? Okay, anything socially?
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Anyone meet someone here that they otherwise wouldn't have met? They would have to go to Match.com to find out.
I met my boyfriend in undergrad.
Whatever. What about loyalty to the university? When you go and make your millions, you'll feel guilty and you'll give some money back to OSU. If it was virtual, you're like, no, it's just a place that I logged into. Would you care about how they did in the tournament if you just were an online student?
Though,
Yes.
some people, if they don't want the college experience, they should do distance learning.
Well, you'd say some people come to OSU and they get a distance learning experience, right?
Yeah.
They spend all their time holed up in their room, or they don't talk to other people.
And
Or,
like from a mental health perspective, just get your degree online.
right. But there are some, all Cam and Grace says, there are some disadvantages. And so again, from a work environment, my daughter Catherine moved to Colorado Springs, and she worked in Tulsa. She still works for that company. Marshall Baker, who is a faculty member here, moved to North Carolina, and his wife worked for the foundation. She still works for the foundation. She just lives in North Carolina now. And so the technology allows it. And for a lot of you, the idea to not commute an hour to work, to be able to work in your pajamas, it's like, man, that sounds really cool. But there's some downsides. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Then why are bigger companies more innovative than smaller ones?
The big thing they talked about was the size. There's more of everything.
They have more resources and like availability to like reach out to other people to get the answers that they need.
Yeah, so that term organizational slack. So if you have a bigger company, you're going to have more money and more ability to reach out, like Will said. And then also, there's like, you're able to use those in other ways to come up with new things. If you have, 10 people and you have this big quota, like all 10 people have got to be all hands on deck all the time. So now we'll talk about, we'll go ahead and just skip to the innovation process. And so we first talked about it in the sense of the individual. And does anybody know the steps in that one? Think of like the first innovation decision process. Mm-hmm.
Knowledge.
Yeah, so your knowledge, your persuasion, decision, implementation, and confirmation. And so when we put it side by side with the one for organizations, it's kind of the same thing, just with different words. And so you have your agenda setting, which is where you kind of have there's a problem, there's something going on in the organization and you need something to fix it. And so that's where you come into the matching stage. And so you have an innovation that's supposedly going to solve the problems or meet the need, make something better that you talked about in the agenda setting stage. Then you go on to redefining or restructuring. Kind of think about that as reinvention. And so you're making it fit your company. How does it work best for us? Because, not everything's going to be perfect for every person the way it's originally done. And then you move into clarifying. And so your pros and cons. Does it work? Are people happy? And then routinizing, or as Bill likes to say, routinizing.
What's wrong?
That's just it's the new norm. Like, you can't think of it any other way. That's, we've always done it this way, or we've always done it that way. And so that's, just kind of thinking about the confirmation, like it's just there. Do y'all have any questions about the stages right now before we go into examples? That makes sense? Okay, so an example is in schools. So let's say that the schools come and they say, well, we don't have enough money. We're running short on teachers. We're running short on funding. We can't, afford to keep the school open because of a lack of resources. And so a way to fix that problem is to shorten the school week. You don't have your typical 5 days, or, however it works. So
how do you save money with the shortened school week?
You don't have to run buses or have the air on or the lights on. You don't have to feed them for that day.
Okay, anybody else?
One less day to pay teachers.
What?
One less day to pay teachers.
Well, if you're a teacher and they say we're going to cut your pay by 20%, you're probably not very excited about that. But you're on the right track.
They probably don't give them as many sick days or anything like that because they have the one extra day they don't give as much vacation maybe.
Oh, okay, so maybe you do that. What if you're the teacher and the school says we're going to go to 4 days school week, but you get paid the same?
Because you don't have to go that day. It's like an extra weekend.
Where
Yeah.
if you need to catch up, you can.
Every week is a 3-day weekend, and so schools that are financially strapped, I know we're financially strapped, but you're going to have to work 4 days every week.
They attract more teachers.
You may be able to attract some teachers. Now, somebody'd say, yes, I'm going to attract the wrong kind of teacher, but anyway, some of those schools are having trouble finding anybody that has the certification, but anyway, so there may be some real cost savings. Maybe not.
And then you could go on to the redefining or restructuring, and so that pick a day to close school. What works best for your school? Or maybe what if it's not closing school for a whole day, but what if you just shorten your days and you're more efficient with your time? You just got to figure out what works best for you. What could be some downsides or problems to closing school for a day or having shorter school days compared to your original 5-day a week, 8 to 3:30?
The kids being home on Friday. They would have to have, if somebody worked, if the parents worked, they would have to have somebody to watch.
Jimmy?
You might have to have some extra curriculars, with if you have to add programming, you have to cut a day, cut a class, you have to do that.
Big question in Oklahoma would be how it would affect football.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's really important, right?
You'd have to take a look at
The schools around us do Mondays.
So that's what Cammie said, is that you pick the day. You could pick Wednesday, you could pick Monday, Friday. Initially it was just take Friday, but some schools said,
You got your
to
Pub
me,
Valley
that's like,
and
why go 4
Friday Night
days? Why
Football.
go 3 days? Hell, nothing going on Monday or Friday anyway. And it said whoever said as far as what are the kids home, well, lots of people don't work. So if you're in an economically depressed area, people are home anyway. Which you mentioned that, I want to send the kids to school so that I don't have to.
You don't have to deal with them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a mom, but
Some moms might think that.
I'd be like, I need a break from my kid.
in Oklahoma, you have like a certain amount of hours, like you have to meet to, school-wise. So they're either gonna have to go longer into the summer or start earlier, in the fall.
I think the ones around, they link the days
It's longer.
Yeah.
We have schools around
Right, that
that
makes
start
the
till
opposite,
4.
you just
Start
add
at
30 minutes each day.
And I know a lot of people who like cut one of their school days, they were already going over
Hours.
like the time, so they just cut it and then now they're like equal to or still like.
We'll just do the minimum.
Right.
And I don't know, my school, they cut Fridays, like starting in March or something, they just cut Fridays off. Because we had enough hours, so like, starting in March, we just had enough Fridays.
Yeah, we don't want to do more than, we want to do the minimum.
Yeah,
That's kind of
we don't
school.
reach all of our snow days, they just start cutting off days when I was in high school.
Wait, really? That's the
Yeah.
thing?
We wouldn't use any of our snow days and be like, okay, or we'd get out like 2 weeks early.
Or you use all your snow days and you're in elementary.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
My school district, like they started, it's like my 4th grade year. We switched to hours instead of days, so we went 8 to 3:30, and we would get at least like 1 or 2 days off, like a month. And we started later and got off earlier because we worked 30 minutes longer.
Yeah. Awesome.
My school, instead of like cutting off single days throughout the year, we cut it off the end of the school. So like my senior year, we cut 2 weeks off the end of school and with graduation up and just cut the year early.
So, it's always been, we've had a 4-day school week. And so that's just kind of like how it would be in an organization. Like it just becomes so routine that you don't think like, oh, we used to go to school 5 days a week. Like, no, it's just 4 days. And so another example is, y'all remember the video we watched about cutting out tipping in restaurants? So we're going to take that and just kind of apply it to this process. So there's the pay discrepancy between your cooks and your servers. And so it's like, well, what do we do? Or, you're not making what you feel is fair. It's just not, you're doing a lot of work for not enough money. And so no more tipping, but how do you make that work? Which was, what did they do in the video? So therefore, if it's increased, then you have the ability to pay everybody kind of, equally. Like everybody has a set wage. And you go to clarifying, does it work? Are workers and customers happy? Like, think about it. Like, what if your favorite restaurant, I don't know, apparently everybody here likes Fuzzies. What if you went and like prices were like $3 or $4 higher there? Would you still keep going? Like, you have to think about it. What if we raised our prices and people stopped coming to our restaurant?
My question is, if fast food restaurants do it, because people only tip at fast food restaurants do it? Like,
Yeah. Well, I just know Fuzzies has the tip jar, but like, I guess, I don't know. I don't eat out a lot here, and I've only been here a little while. Yeah, like Texas Roadhouse. Like that's, a restaurant. Like,
Well, I mean, like, if I didn't have the tip at the end, it'd equal out.
right.
So they'd be like, hey, we're going to raise all our prices a little bit, but you don't have to worry about adding up the tip or anything or getting out your calculator from your phone. You're just like, okay, I'll pay a little extra.
That's what Danny Meyer said. He said, at the end of the day, it'll be the same for you. It'll just be better for me as a restaurateur. I'll have better workers.
and I mean, then we don't have that issue of, oh, someone forgot to tip, but everybody's actually just making it even.
And then who was it that brought up that day? Like, if you tip on your credit card, it makes a difference. Like, I don't carry cash, so like I almost always end up tipping off my cards because I don't carry cash. And so then like comes to the point nobody tips in a restaurant anymore.
Isn't it like in some countries that you do not tip, like that's just how it is?
I haven't traveled enough to know / been in cities where you would tip when I have traveled
In
internationally.
Italy, it's just included, like, with your total price. So technically you're not really tipping, it's like they just raise the prices.
What about in like big cities like tipping cab drivers or your Uber driver or your valet or
Literally everyone.
the people who get the concierge, like who gets your stuff from your car, takes it up to your hotel room. What if we stop tipping them? Do you think it would work?
I
Why?
think that the restaurant thing would be harder as an owner, like, because I think it would be harder to find,
or like servers that wanted to do a good job with like knowing that they don't have to work for that tip. Like it would be harder to find people that fit that criteria that would stay good.
But that's how cooks are, right? Cooks don't get paid more, they don't get tips. And so how do you get people that will do a really good job of preparing food then if they don't get tipped?
That's a good point. It's funner when you have to work a little bit harder. Is that, I don't know how to explain that. It's like, you know that if you like really put yourself out there, you're gonna get like $20, $30, $40. But if you don't, and you know that like regardless of how hard you try, you're just gonna get the hourly wage. Like,
But remember, from the video, he talked about like if there was a week that had like really great profits, or at the end of the month, they would all get a cut of that.
I think restaurant owners would get more stricter too, like they're not doing their job and like there's not a satisfaction, people are gonna get laid off because they don't want to be there.
Because remember, the guy in the video said, I'm going to hire somebody that cares about hospitality and wants to do a good job.
The guidelines would get a lot tighter.
But if you pay them, then you're paying for a higher rate of work, and then people going into it like, okay, I'm getting $15 an hour every hour. I'm going to do better work than if I'm getting paid $7.25 every hour in it, whatever.
But don't lose focus here. We're not in a hotel and restaurant management class. We're not trying to figure out how to make a restaurant work. What we're trying to figure out is that in organizations,
how do you
bring about change. There's a systematic way that you bring about it. The agenda setting is kind of interesting because in some way you have to kind of create this problem. If there's something you want to do, you got to kind of create it. You have to set the table to where I've created this problem. Now we get to do what I want to do.
Like,
Is it about
I'm trying to
restaurants?
think, like, yeah, how would it work in a Sonic? Like,
Well, you don't tip at Sonic.
You're supposed to.
Somebody brings your food out to you. You give them 50 cents or something.
That's what I don't want. If you raise theirs, like it would definitely make the workers more happy. I felt like if they were getting paid better at Sonic, but how would the people pay? Well, Sonic make minimum wage. It's not like the servers.
There's actually a lot of fast food restaurants that
So
make
anybody that wants to like it.
Go through so you can get away from the restaurants.
We could talk about we had talked about possibly like banks not having tellers.
Okay, sure.
Well, we didn't really talk through all that. Can y'all think of anything?
How would I cash my check?
It's all done by machine.
Take a picture of it and send it to your bank.
Say
Mobile deposit.
Come on. I know you can hold the deposit, but every time I do that, it takes like 2 days to get in, and I'm trying to buy stuff like today.
A bank in Virginia, BB&T, it's instant. It's within like 30 seconds you have your money on hand as long as you like take a picture of it. They like expedite it.
But what about the extra fee that you're paying to do it through mobile
They had no
deposit?
fee.
It depends on like some of the banks, like the ones that I had back home, like I could go either do a mobile deposit, like have like just a certain amount in at that time and then the rest was going to be there, or I could go and put it through the ATM and just get it like cash right away or put it into my bank account.
I did not know you can put a check in the ATM.
I've always seen that one.
Yeah.
But hey, we're not a banking class.
Let's talk about Venmo. You know what Venmo is?
Use that as an example.
Okay, yeah.
What's the agenda setting?
Why did Venmo become a thing?
Because people don't carry cash.
Yeah, nobody carries cash, everybody's got debit cards, so they're like, hey.
But people share expenses. They have roommates. How do I move $50 to you? I don't know or $300.
I don't want to write a check.
Okay. And so then what's the matching look like?
No more.
Cash App, Venmo.
There's this app that will move money for you.
And so then,
And then the redefining and restructuring, how do we make it to where it only costs you like they make just a fraction. Okay. Then the clarifying is that we just work it out, and that last of routinizing that everybody does it. Even old people are sending grants.
I've gotten paid for babysitting through Venmo.
Facebook is like my mom.
Yeah.
Facebook shoot the messengers for anything.
I mean, or you could do, like you have PayPal. Apple Pay. Like I know in some bigger cities, so my roommate from undergrad lives in New York now, and they don't split checks in New York at restaurants.
So you have to move money.
And so everybody, she's a missionary and leads teams, and so what they do is when they go eat somewhere, somebody pays it, and then everybody pays the person who pays.
Does anybody think when they turn in this worksheet how archaic this is? You'd say, my God, Weeks, it's 2019. Why am I printing this out and handing you in a paper copy? Is anybody thinking that? One. Okay, mark it down.
You think LSU's repressive? You don't like class?
And anyone else? Say, I never turn anything in. You're killing trees.
Recycle.
But I don't get to be lost.
Plant more trees.
What if I lose it? I spill a cup of coffee on it, right? All those things. It's in the Dropbox. I didn't forget. You didn't lose it, right? All those advantages. Well, what if you forget to come to class with it? It's in my car. I'll bring it tomorrow. I mean, there's all those things too. So,
I was sick a couple weeks.
You are very excited today about class.
I'm in a good mood this week. I don't know why. So I was sick a couple weeks ago, right? I missed the whole week, but I couldn't have been doing those worksheets if they were. I didn't want to bring them in to you because I was getting sick.
So you email it to us.
again, back to organizations and innovativeness. Organizations can be innovative if you want to make change. And again, I think the email is the great example where they tried to push email and they got people to open accounts, but they couldn't get them to use it. I remember the first time I had email, my professor at A&M said, "Hey, get an email account." And I said, "What the hell would I do with an email account?" He said, "I want to send you something, but you have to have an account. It's like a phone. What good is the phone if you have one and you're the only person that has one? Who am I going to call?" Right? But then after it got going, then again it's this routinizing where, my gosh, I can't imagine we got along without email, and you all don't even do anything email.
My school made us open one in like 6th grade.
Yeah, we had to get one in
I forgot
6th
the
grade too.
password like so many times.
Again, it became you need to have this. Fax machines became that way. For most of you, it's probably a LinkedIn account. If you're going to be in the job market, you need a LinkedIn account.
Or an e-portfolio. I don't know, that was the thing at Auburn. It's like you create a website and it has like your resume and like blurbs about you and big things that you've done in your college career, things like that. So now we're going to talk about innovation champions. So does anybody want to define that or like talk about what it means to be an innovation champion?
It's like an opinion leader.
I mean, it said in the book that it's like the champion person is like someone that takes an innovation and like she said, an opinion leader. But if you don't have it, it dies in the company. Or like you can't die.
So it's somebody that's just like really promoting this innovation. So it could be, the actual person who created it or just somebody who's like super passionate about that innovation.
Pull that up about 200%. Better.
So to kind of start, we're just going to think about there's a need for an innovation. And so the first one we have is high school seniors are bored. And so how do you fix that? And so the example we have is that you reduce the gap between high school and college. So you have college and high school. And Bill Gates really pushed for that.
Did anyone take any college classes while they were in high school? There are now high schools that when you graduate, you have your associate's degree.
My sister's in 7th grade and in Comp 1 and in college in 7th grade.
So taken to an extreme, that's an innovation. And then the question is, who's been championing that? So Catherine, yes, they're an opinion leader, but they're like an opinion leader on steroids. They're an opinion leader plus. They're pushing this innovation. Opinion leader, I have an opinion and maybe you want to do what I do, but a champion is they are pushing this innovation. And the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation pushed it because they gave lots of grants to schools to try and bridge that gap so where high school students, during my time, no one took a college class during high school. High school ended, you took 8 weeks off, then you started as a freshman. Nobody took any college classes until they were a freshman in college, You had 0 hours. Now, we have freshmen that start as juniors. What does it mean to be a freshman? What does it mean to be a high school senior? I mean, it's completely blurred, but that was important because we had lots of seniors that we talked senioritis, not college, high school senioritis. I coasted through my senior year. I'd already been accepted at this college. I'm going, so I'm going to take Ag 4, Ag Mechanics, and Horticulture, and Natural Resources, and then maybe I'll take senior math, maybe. But if I didn't require it, maybe I took senior English. If I didn't take that, I didn't. Art was also available, and maybe a day class called Stagecraft Design or something. And so that wasn't good for anybody going to college. So number one, that has helped that problem.
Okay. And so the next one, people are homeless in America. That's the thing. You know, people don't have places to live. And so the innovation, you know, Habitat for Humanity, or similar organizations. And an innovation champion for this one is former President Jimmy Carter. And so there is a video.
Former President Jimmy Carter and his wife Rosalind are still building homes for Habitat for Humanity, an annual tradition they started more than 30 years ago.
We've built almost 5,000 houses now. It's been one of the most gratifying and challenging and difficult things we've ever done, you know, physically speaking, because we've got to say the older. I was a lot younger when it first started.
He was 56 and fresh out of the White House when he first took up the hammer as a volunteer home builder.
We hope it'll go like this all over the world. We're now building one home each day for people in need.
I happen to be a Christian, and it's a practical way to put my religious beliefs into practical use. And this is the best way I know to cross that very difficult chasm between rich people and people who never have a decent place in which to live.
Habitat for Humanity fields 1,400 groups in more than 70 countries. They raise awareness of the need for more affordable.
So this is a former president who is championing the effort to help alleviate homelessness. So building houses all over the world. You saw it. He was in New York. He was in LA. He was in Haiti, and it started way back. This is something that he has pretty much devoted his life to. So you know, most of these innovation champions are famous people or you know high profile, but what are some other ones that, like, so stock shows? I know OIE was last week, so like, who would be an innovation for a stock show? An innovation champion for a stock show?
Bob Funk.
Who?
Bob Funk.
Do you know who Bob Funk is? Let me tell you.
Remember, I'm from Alabama, so.
Well, what I know about him is that he is like the owner of Express Ranches, and then like all the Express employment centers you see around Oklahoma, he opened all those so people can work.
So yes, Express Personnel is a company that hires temporary workers for business and organizations, and they don't pay them anything, but they get to, anyway, that's how they make all their money. And then he decided he wanted to go in the livestock business, but he's been a proponent of livestock shows because I think it's good that high school kids and grade school kids and 4-H do something and raise livestock, and they get a chance to go to Oklahoma City and compete with other youth.
Okay, besides like a big profile person, who would be someone like that would be more local? Think on a local level, who would be?
Maybe not their name, but their
but like their position.
Like an extension agent?
Okay.
You mean keep going?
I mean, somebody else, but.
Or someone who raises money to help kids that couldn't afford a market, goat or lamb or whatever, to be able to raise that animal or pay the feed bill for it.
President of a booster club.
Yeah.
Your ag teacher, parents, Katie.
Alan Alexander, I think that's his name. I know we just make Alexander Livestock. I had a camper at OIE who was she called herself a sponsored showman. So he donated a heifer to her, and she showed it at OIE, like he did it for her and like taught her the feeding programs. But because she was like low income, he made that happen for her. It's kind of like Catch a Cat, but National Western. We put all these calves in a big ring, and then kids from in the local area literally have to catch a calf calf, and whichever one you catch, you raise.
If they don't kill it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then the next year at Denver, you show that calf and you compete in just the catch calf show for like a cash prize. And it shows like, I don't know who sponsors it, but there's like a lot of hands in it.
Whoever sponsors it would be an innovation
Yeah,
champion.
Yeah, the catch calf is for the veterans of the youth of Denver, Colorado.
It's usually a scholarship money.
So innovation champions, yes, most of the time when you think of them, they're going to be a celebrity or a former president, or as Bill and I were talking this morning, Miss America, or any like state pageants. I don't know, I wasn't a pageant person, but think about like you have to have a platform. So, you know, hungry children in America, or, you know, a cure for diabetes or a cure for cancer. And so that is their platform that they are competing on, and that if they become Miss America or Miss Oklahoma or whatever, they're going and they're talking about that. They're pushing it, you know, really promoting it. Does that make sense?
Another question, sorry. Wouldn't that be Shakira doing our global bus with food insecurity?
Talk about that.
All I know is that in one chapter, I didn't know anything about Shakira. I guess she comes from like I don't know where she comes from.
I think she's Colombian, isn't she?
Yeah, Colombian. And she like is passionate about food insecurity, so she spends like a large amount of her time, other than being like an artist, giving back and like working back to those projects to help.
Opening schools in Colombia.
Yeah, where she's from. But she has the platform of being Shakira.
So that was like one thing that you need to understand, is that innovation champions can be at a local level, like your ag teacher or an extension agent or whoever. But we'll go ahead and just look at some more examples. We'll do the guinea worms infect children, and so then you want to eliminate that pest. And so there's this man who has devoted his life work to ridding the world of guinea worms.
The first thing a visitor to this small home office will likely notice is that Dr. Donald Hopkins has a thing for woodpeckers.
So woodpeckers all over here.
Images of the birds own a successful career in global health.
There is the Oregon smallpox.
In his younger days, Hopkins played an important role in the eradication of smallpox, developing unique ways to target and vaccinate populations.
Now this is my dead pet guinea worm.
On a side table in his office, a simple jar holds another milestone in his medical life. Inside is a lone white worm, curled like a string of vermicelli.
Affectionately called Henrietta.
Dr. Hopkins has been working a long time to rid the world of Henrietta and her kin.
All the worms mature, they're 2 to 3 feet long, and then the worms emerge directly through the skin on any part of the body.
It's extremely painful and disruptive to the lives of infected people. Farmers can't farm. Kids can't go to school. Productivity is lost.
It is hard.
Needs to change their behavior. Has proved successful.
Usually you'll see them wrap around a pencil trying to pull them out slowly.
Of humans to be eradicated after smallpox. It looks as though we're going to cross the finish line even before.
I'm trying to listen, and you'll see like here the starting number and now what it was when this was made.
P1 disease will be the second disease that appears of humans to be eradicated after smallpox. It looks as though we're going to cross the finish line even before polio is eradicated. And it will be the first parasitic disease to be eradicated.
The Latin name for guinea worm disease is dracunculiasis, which means affliction of little dragons.
I suppose that's because of the burning sensation the parasite is about to give out and the way it terrifies people.
What terrifies Dr. Hopkins is snakes, but he says he overcomes those fears to travel to the areas where these dragons live. Along with the former president and a team of health workers he's worked with over the years, Hopkins may prove to be a modern-day St. George, slaying these little dragons for good.
The chances that President Carter and I will outlive the guinea worm are looking better and better. We're very close now, and you don't know until it's done.
It said earlier in the video, basically, it is now from just like all over the Eastern Hemisphere. It's now just one county in Africa, in a certain part, that this is still happening, and it's solved by filtering your water. And so a simple innovation of a cloth filter is what they say. And this man has really championed the effort to get people to filter their water so they don't ingest the baby worms. Can y'all think of any other, I mean, like we have some up here, but what could y'all think of here's some innovation champions that y'all could think of.
This might be kind of a stretch. But it just came to my head, so I'm going to say it. Like training wheels on a bike, okay, when you're a kid. You don't want to use them because you're like, oh, that's lame, I'm going to learn how to ride a bike. But, you know, your dad's like, hey, this is how you learn how to ride a bike with the training wheel. And then you start riding a bike, you know, you get a little better, and you take them off. So could your dad be like a champion for training wheels?
If he encourages everybody in the community to have training wheels, and he writes letters to the editor, and goes to the Kiwanis Club and say, we need to sponsor and give every kid training wheels. Take bicycle helmets, say we want to get kids to do helmets, and I'm as a champion, I'm going to work with State Farm Insurance, and on Saturday we're going to have a program, and kids come down and get a free helmet, and I'm going to, again, write a letter to the editor, I'm going to go to the Kiwanis Club, I'm going to tell everybody, and all I talk about are these stupid bicycle helmets. And because I am so passionate about preventing traumatic brain injuries and have quadriplegic kids. And so pick whatever the innovation, and people that champion whatever the cause is, this is all they talk about. And they are known in the community that this is really important. So really the idea of livestock show, all those people that show up at a premium sale and give money, and they don't even get the animal. Oh my gosh, they're supporting, they're putting their money, and they say, I think this is really important. And then they're the ones that sponsor whatever. But just pick the innovation, and somebody that says, man, I think this is really important. She's got other ones, monarch butterflies. Convince people that instead of killing milkweeds, we should plant milkweeds. You know, for 50 years, all we're going to try and find more herbicides that will kill milkweeds. And now we're convincing people to plant milkweed. You got to be kidding me. But it's so they're monarch butterflies, and so those people that are talking about it, writing letters to the editor, they are blogging about it, they're certainly innovation champions.
Another example, like for me, thinking like on a local level, so the big thing for my hometown, it just happened this last weekend, is the Rattlesnake Rodeo. It started, this is like close to number 60, so it started because we have tons of rattlesnakes everywhere. Like, it's not uncommon for you to be bush hogging and you go and there's a 6-7 foot diamondback. And so this group of men called the JCs started this program where they would go to schools and they would educate you on like snake safety. But now it's this big event that happens at the football stadium where snakes are in cages in front of our city hall, and there's newspaper articles about them. They travel to all the local schools in the county. Like, it's known across it's called the Wiregrass of Alabama. It's like the bottom half of the state. People come from all over. Saturday and Sunday nights, there's big like country artists like Blake Shelton's come, Luke Bryan, a lot of different people. Like this year it was Tyler Farr and Craig Morgan, but they innovate, like they champion for like protection and like just education of rattlesnakes. And so now it's this like big ordeal, and I hate it because they used to bring snakes to school, but yeah, it's a thing. What?
There's a place in Texas like this kind of thing, but they kill them.
So they cannot, because people got mad, they can't kill these snakes anymore. But they will, you can have them like draped around your neck. You can see them get the venom from their fangs. Like they're called the JCs. They hold them, and so they can't like bite you.
Do we release them then afterwards?
Supposedly.
There's this thing in Texas, and it's like the same thing as like the panhandle area. And like there's like a big group, and it's like where like they like catch the most, like
So they even to the point where they'll have snake races, and so a local business will sponsor a snake and they band them and they dump them out into a circle, and whatever snake gets out the first wins.
Oh yeah, money. We gotta bring gambling into it some way.
That is what my hometown is known for in Alabama. So, but just to wrap up, just remember that organizations do go through much of the same steps as like an individual does in adopting an innovation, and if an innovation does not have a champion, it dies. So don't forget for your groups to post on the discussion board what your topic for your team project is, and we'll see you Thursday.